Kill the lights, please. There are, I would imagine in many of your households at night, if the topic comes up, and it probably comes up less frequently than it used to, if the topic of the Common Core comes up, I would imagine that it's met with some ire, anger, wrath, disgust by your parents. And if you break the Common Core down, and I'm not talking about elementary school because I don't really know anything about the elementary school stuff except for the fact that most real math people don't do adding and subtracting of 2 and 3 digit numbers the way they do it. That doesn't mean you do it, or your parents, more to the point, do it the right way either, but most math people see it a little differently than both of those, yes?
Oh, so my sister, she's in 5th grade, and when she like learns the stuff, she's like, can you help me with this? I'm like, no, because like the comic, cause we didn't really learn it since it was like fairly new in 5th
Right.
grade for us. So she's like, you gotta take these and you gotta put these circles in this box,
Right.
squares in these.
It's
Right.
very complicated.
Yeah, they're making it much harder than it needs to be.
It's just adding. Why do
All
we
right.
have to explain
So,
why 2
listen.
plus 2
Hey.
is 4?
Guys, stop. My point is to say this. I don't know enough about the elementary school level to have a valid opinion, but I do know enough about what we're doing here. And many, many, many years ago, my first 5 years I taught at Patchogue High School. Then I came down to this building and I've been here ever since. And this is my 32nd year, so this was 27 years ago. When I came down to the building, I started teaching much of the stuff in the Common Core before the Common Core ever existed. So I don't think the material in the Common Core is bad. In fact, quite the opposite. I think much of the material is good. I think the problem with the Common Core is the way they test you. It's not what the test is on, it's how they go about making the test.
So like Trump is going to get rid of it.
Yes, Trump is getting rid of it, which is a very good thing. Okay, so this lesson is called Common Core Catch-Up. And the reason we call it Common Core Catch-Up, I guess today is the day of alliteration, because within teaching traditional topics, Common Core also likes to, and this is the assessment part of it, the way they test, they like to be weird about things. I'm sure you've noticed that. And they don't like to necessarily be, they definitely don't like to be predictable. They don't like to be patterned in any way, shape, or form. They like to be weird. So one of the things you need to prepare yourself for is the ability to process what the heck they're talking about in these questions that are so atypical. So all I want to do today is go through tweaks on good concepts, bad things, bad ways they ask questions about good concepts. And it does help you understand a little bit better, but I also think they're jerks. So anyway, when you multiply 2 terms by 2 terms, you should get 4 terms. Why is the final result, when you multiply 2 terms, 2 binomials, sometimes only 3 terms, and give an example where you can end up with 2 terms? AJ.
Okay, so when you multiply 2 binomials, you have, so when you get 4 terms, they're not in simplest form, so you have to, when you put it in simplest form, you get a trinomial.
Yes, but not necessarily. If I did this, I'm not getting anything I can simplify. The answer to this would be just doing double distribute. AC plus AD plus BC plus BD. And there's nothing you can combine. But if you notice, we haven't done many questions like that. We've tended to do questions like this. Right? And when I distribute this, I would get x squared plus 4x plus 5x plus 20. And what AJ's saying is this: if you don't simplify those middle 2 terms and combine them, you have 4 terms. Now, what they're getting at in the first part, which says a binomial times a binomial is 4 terms, they're looking at more like something like I did, the top one. When they're saying a trinomial, they're getting at what AJ did. Because whenever you write it like this, x plus 5 times x plus 4, where it's the same variable, you will always be combinable, and lo and behold, you get a trinomial. Now, Did I just do anything complicated? No. How many people didn't do that? Really? I think a lot of you didn't do that. Maybe you don't want to raise your hand. I think I think very few of you did that. Very few, maybe none. Now, the reason is not because you're not smart enough for it. I'll guarantee you, when I showed it to you, you were like, that's it? That's all you wanted me to do? But the Common Core is weird. So I just wanted to show you that it's not that hard. You just have to try to understand what it is they're actually asking you to do. And part of the time, the problem's their fault, because they have a very difficult time explaining what to do. For example, when I show you the answer to the next part, you're gonna say, oh, that's easy. What about a binomial times a binomial producing a binomial? Can you think of a pair of binomials that would do that? AJ?
X plus 1 times negative x minus 1.
Just x minus 1, not negative x. Yeah, see, here's the thing. The only way to make a binomial is if we somehow got rid of that middle term. Agree? Isn't it true that the only way to get rid of the middle term is if these two terms in the middle here are the same number with opposite signs? And the only way to do that is this. Double distribute, x squared minus x plus x minus 1. These guys add up to nothing, I'm gonna get a binomial. Okay? So all of that, if I were you and I was sitting in my seat, I would have to read this, I can't tell you how many times until I understood what they were really asking me to do. But once I understood, was it hard? No. And did you know, before you ever read this question, did you know everything you needed to know in order to do the question? And what I'm going to promise you is this. On your Regents exam, they will come up with a couple of questions like this. And it's not that you're not smart enough to get it right. The question is only, will you understand what they're asking you to do? So on your homework, some nights when you get a weird looking question like this, what you have to say to yourself is, I'm not going to quit without giving it a really good try. Because you will see them on your Regents. And if all year long on your homework you give it a half-hearted effort and you really don't begin to try to learn how to process these kind of questions, then when you hit your Regents, don't think you're going to be any good at them. And I don't know what kind of grade you want to get on the Regents. I'm not worried about passing the Regents. But if I'm sitting in a desk, I want a number that begins with at least a 9. And if I want a grade like that, I have to earn it. I have to pay the price each and every day. So when you see questions like this, make sure you don't quit on them. Realize that almost always you will know everything you need to get this right. It's just a question of you understanding where they're coming from. Okay? All right, so now, let's get to the next question. Jacob lives on a street that runs east and west. The grocery store is to the east and the post office is to the west of his house. Both are on the same street as his house. So let's do a little diagram here, okay? There's his house. And then it says the grocery store is to the east, groceries, and the post office is to the west, post office. I hope when you were reading this, you were drawing a diagram. Diagrams are very helpful. Both are on the same street, answer the questions. At 1 p.m., Jason hops in his car and drives at a constant speed of 25 miles per hour for 6 minutes to the post office. Okay, so he hops in his house, goes to the post office, and he does 25 miles per hour for 6 minutes. Okay. After 10 minutes, he leaves the post office. He realizes he is late and drives 30 miles an hour to the grocery store. To the grocery store, arriving at 1:28 p.m. All right, so let's keep in mind this is at 1 o'clock that he leaves the house. All right, so, and then there's a 10-minute lull in here, right, where he does nothing. So the first thing I have to do is figure out how many minutes until he gets to the post office. Do you know this equation from either prior math classes or from science class? Rate times time equals distance? Yeah. Right, you know that? Like if you drive 50 miles an hour for 2 hours, how far do you go? 50 miles an hour for 2 hours. How far'd you go? 100 miles, right? Because it's 50 times 2. The rate 50 times the time 2. So in this case, the rate is 25. And the time, now, see, do you see how the rate is in hours? So I have to express the time in hours. 6 minutes is what part of an hour?
It's only 0.6, 0.0.
Go with fractions. 1/10. Okay? Because it's 6 out of 60, which is 1/10. Is the distance, so the distance is 2.5 miles. Okay, so this is 2.5 miles. All right. Now, if you, let's see here. And, oh, by the way, he's also gonna spend 20 minutes buying groceries. I forgot to include that. All right, now, that makes this, he's at the post office, by the way, at 1:06, because it's 6 minutes to get there. Then there's 10 minutes, so he leaves here at 1:16, and he drives 30 miles per hour, arriving at 1:28. So if he goes at 1:16 and arrives at 1:28, how long did he drive for? 12 minutes, right? Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, good. I drew the graph. What does the next part ask for? Because I don't want to mess this up.
The next part?
Yeah, is there a part B?
No, this is a part of.
That's it? Okay, good. So then I'm done. I have found out that this is 2.5 miles. I got there at 1:06. I stayed there 10 minutes, so that's 1:16. It's 12 minutes to get to here, which gets me here at 1:28. I stay there for 20 minutes, for what it's worth. At 1:48, I would be able to leave home, or leave the grocery store. Okay? Any questions? All right. Yes? Okay. Let's go to the next part. Find 2 consecutive integers, blah, blah, blah. Do it. Give you about 90 seconds to get that done. Turn the page, get to work. There were a number of people absent yesterday. Please remember that you need to make up the homework from last night, and there are extras in the drawer should you need them.
I did.
Good job. All right. So, finding consecutive integers. So 2 consecutive integers. So this is first consecutive integer, and this is second consecutive integer. Yes?
The first consecutive integer would be n.
Beautiful.
And the second one would be n plus 1.
Sweet. Such that the sum of 3 times the first, how do I write 3 times the first?
3n.
And what? The second, which is n plus 1, is 41. Same side, same operation. 4n plus 1 is 41. Minus 1, minus 1. Die, die. 4n is 40. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. N is 10. Am I done?
Nope.
No. What's the other answer?
11.
11. Very good. It says find 2 consecutive integers. So it's 10 and 11. Yes?
Doesn't matter the variable.
Nope. Not at all. Whatever floats your boat makes you happy. Okay, by the way, much better on the dressing today. Much better.
Dressing? I thought you were talking about salad dressing.
No, we went into that one day, I remember. Okay, try the next question. Give you a minute to get that. God bless you. So what do you think? Is one of them right, one of them wrong? What do you think? Really? Which one's right?
The one on the left.
Okay. Then why is the one on the right wrong?
Because there's. Oh wait, no, they're both right. I didn't see them.
They are both right.
They're both right.
Yeah. However, which way do we normally want to present it? The left. Because that's y equals mx plus b form. But every now and then I see a kid do a question, so it appears the way it is on the right. It's not a sin to do that. You're not wrong to do that. The problem is when we go to the next set of questions. What's the slope?
-7/3.
-7/3. Now, we normally think of the slope, normally, as what would be in this middle area. Problem is the -7/3 in the middle area on the blue. No, it's at the end. So what I want you to make sure that you always remember is the slope is always the number in front of the x. It's not always first. It's not always second. It's always in front of the x. Are we good like that? Good. What's the y-intercept? 4. And is this a broken or solid line? Broken. Why? No or equal to, right? And do I shade above or below?
Below.
Below, because it is less than. Okay, any questions? All right, work with your friends on your homework. Spencer, you can turn the lights back on.
You said you were showing the video that came out.
Oh, the video?